Today I want us to talk about CBC. I want us to understand what CBC is and also understand the big shift. Why did we shift from the previous system? So CBC we all know means competency-based curriculum. But what is a competency? A competency is the ability to apply appropriate knowledge, skills, values, and attitude to successfully perform a real-life task. So when you talk about a competency-based curriculum, then it is an education program focused on the learner's ability to apply the knowledge, skills, values, and attitude to successfully perform a real-life task. So why the shift? Because we moved from 844 now to CBC. 844 was not a bad system, but over time, it has become academic and examination oriented, leading to three key problems which CBC is addressing. Problem number one, there is a disconnect between school content and the world of work. Youth unemployment is on the increase, and many learners are exiting school without skills for work and skills for life. Again, Kenya's economy is rapidly changing, and some of the jobs will be transformed by 2030. So we seriously need to prepare our children for new possibilities. 21st century demands citizens who are multi-skilled. The new system seeks to produce a child with relevant competencies to thrive in a rapidly changing world. Then we have the second problem, which is a disconnect in realization of the national goals of education. And our national goals of education emphasizes core values and principles such as nationalism, social equality, responsibility, among others. So the school system needs to mold learners to acquire values that support peace and national unity. And that is why you find value-based education and parental involvement are core pillars in CBC. The new system seeks to produce a child who has good character. The third key problem is a disconnect with the needs of the 21st century, which has been dubbed as a knowledge and skill age that demands a new set of competencies. The 21st century is a society in which knowledge and well-thought-out ideas are key source of economic growth. So our Kenyan school system needs to develop learners who are able to creatively solve problems. So those are the three main problems that led to reforms. But I want to give a comprehensive background or maybe the rationale for curriculum reforms so that we can understand why the shift. The first one is the Constitution of Kenya 2010. It states that every child has a right to free and compulsory basic education. If you read Article 10, Constitution emphasizes on national values and principles of governance, which are in CBC. Chapter 6 insists on integrity and also deals with leadership. If you look at the Constitution of Kenya, it also promotes Kiswahili as a national and official language and English as official languages. That's why you find that some of these languages are compulsory. Then it also encourages teaching and learning of KSL and Braille, developing and promoting the use of indigenous languages. That's why they have been introduced. Then it also emphasizes on communication formats and technologies accessible to persons with disabilities. Then we have the Kenya Vision 2030, which actually encourages integrating early childhood into primary education. For a long time, nursery schools were not seen as part of primary education. They were done privately, and even if they are in the public primary schools, they were somewhere in the corner, and their activities were not related with what is happening in primary education. So there was need to integrate them, and that's why you see CBC starts at PP1, PP2, which we used to call nursery then. Then it also encourages reforming secondary curricula, talks about modernizing teacher training, and developing programs for learners with special needs, among others. So another thing that guided the reforms is the task force report chaired by Professor Odhiambo, 2012. It recommended a major curriculum reform to align it with the Constitution 2010 and to address the dictates of Vision 2030. We have already mentioned some of the dictates. And it also recommended inclusion of community service programs in the school curriculum. That's why we have the community service learning in CBC. Like, I think most of us learned about CBC when we saw the grade 3 learners sweeping our streets. So that our learners can understand that whatever they are learning in school should help them also improve our society. They shouldn't see it as a punishment. But because they have learned about keeping the environment clean, why don't they also come and do it practically in our environment? Then we had the draft sessional paper on reforming education and training in Kenya, which recommended, number 1, reforming the education sector to provide for the holistic development of learners. It recommended a competency-based curriculum. Then it also recommended early identification and nurturing of talents, introduction of values, and also introduction of 3 learning pathways at senior secondary school level. Then we had the summative evaluation of the 844 system of education 2009, which recorded so many things. Number 1, 844 was academic and examination oriented. Then it also noted that teachers hardly use formative assessment. Formative assessment is assessment for learning. Most of the times, summative assessment has been used. Then graduates at secondary school level did not acquire adequate entrepreneurial skills for self-reliance. So somebody leaves Form 4, but sincerely they can't do anything. They have to still go to tertiary institutions to be able to acquire skills that can help them. Again, it did not provide flexible education pathways for identifying and nurturing aptitudes, talents, and interests of learners early enough in order to prepare them for the field or for the world of work. Career progression and sustainable development. The summative evaluation of 844 also identified skills gaps. For example, entrepreneurial skills were missing, vocational skills, technical skills, agricultural skills, innovation and creativity, as well as ICT skills. And after all that, it recommended a needs assessment survey. So we had a needs assessment survey that was carried out by KICD. In 2016, it recommended, number 1, a curriculum reform. And it also recommended a wide curriculum to cater for various talent areas to enable learners achieve their potential and be better equipped to develop themselves and the nation. They also recommended a functional, holistic curriculum that would produce an individual with spiritual, moral, and social aspects with the ability to live amicably with others. It recommended development and acquisition of competencies at every level of learning, and also a flexible and comprehensive educational structure and system. The East African Community Protocol also recommended key competencies. It also guided the learning areas or the subjects. It recommended national goals of education, learning outcomes for ECD, primary and secondary, and it also gave guidelines on assessment. The curriculum reforms are also guided by the global standards. UNESCO IBE recommends curriculum review every 5 years. Sustainable Development Goal number 4 talks about ensuring quality education. And then 21st Learnings, which talks about the skills and approaches. So at least we have seen the rationale for curriculum reform. People didn't just wake up and decide we don't need 844. A lot was done. A lot guided the reforms. So when we are talking about this 21st century learner, we are talking about somebody who is globally aware, a communicator, a problem solver, a critical thinker, a collaborator, a learner who is civically engaged, an innovator, a self-directed learner, a financially and economically literate learner, and to be sincere, 21st century learners are information and media literate. We need to understand these are the learners we are having in our classroom, and they must be handled as such. So there was need for curriculum reforms. So what exactly has shifted? Or maybe we look at the paradigm shift. So we are shifting from what to what? When we say we are coming from 844 to CBC, what exactly are we shifting from? So number one, we are shifting from a system that focuses on content, because currently 844 focuses on content. It is finishing the syllabus, getting the content. But CBC focuses on competencies. How well can this learner communicate? How well can they solve problems? Are they ICT or digital literate? How well are they able to critically solve problems and such things? So we are focusing on competencies. Then 844 was also rigid and prescriptive with limited flexibility. If you're not understanding the content, then most of the times you are labeled as a failure. But now CBC is flexible. It has opportunities for specialization, such that if you're good in arts, you have your pathway. If you're good in sciences, there's a pathway you can follow. Then you look at 844, it focused on summative assessment and competition. That's why we have previously said it was exam-oriented. But when you look at CBC, there is a balance between formative and summative assessment. So it will not be purely summative like 844 was. There is assessment for learning and assessment of learning. 844 also was emphasizing on schooling, but CBC emphasizes on education. 844 mainly focused on teaching. CBC focuses on learning. So at least I hope you can see the shift. In my next video, I will be looking at the basic education curriculum framework so that we understand how it is organized. Thank you for watching.